South Dakota Farmers Union. I'm your moderator, Paul Guggenheimer of South Dakota Public Broadcasting. It's great to be here on a beautiful day. Today we're going to hear from the Republican and Democratic candidates for governor, and before I introduce them, here is our format for today's discussion, focusing mainly on rural issues and agriculture policy. Each candidate will make a 5-minute opening statement. Then there will be questions that I'll ask and questions submitted by the audience. All audience questions will be reviewed by a panel before they are submitted to me. And our panelists over there are Chuck Groth, who is a retired Farmers Union Communications Director, and Scott Sandel, who is a Yankton business owner. So thanks to Chuck and Scott. The way to submit your questions, anybody who has a Farmers Union shirt on, you can hand them your questions, and you can see some of them roaming around the aisles as we speak. And you can bring those questions up to, those guys, and they'll bring them up to the panelists. There are pieces of paper and pencil that you can write your questions on and submit them. We ask that you folks who have signs, please be considerate of the people behind you. When you hold those signs up, some of those folks might not be able to see. Again, all questions will be geared toward the rural community. All questions will be intended for both candidates to answer. Each candidate will be allowed a maximum 3-minute response to each question, and then there will be time for each candidate to issue a rebuttal, and those rebuttals will be limited to 2 minutes. There will be closing statements of 5 minutes each, and our total time allotment is just about 90 minutes. And now I'd like to introduce the candidates, and we're going to go in the order of who's going to start. We, in the tradition of football, had a coin toss at the beginning, and Mr. Dugard chose heads, and so he elected to be on offense first, and so I will introduce him first. So he will begin and close first. And Republican Dennis Dugard has been the Lieutenant Governor of South Dakota, as you know, since Mike Rounds took office in 2003. Prior to his current office, Mr. Dugard served as a member of the South Dakota Senate from 1997 to 2003. He received his political science degree from the University of South Dakota and his Juris Doctor from Northwestern University Law School. Until 2009, Mr. Dugard was the Executive Director of the Children's Home Society of South Dakota. And Democrat Scott Heideprim has served in the South Dakota Senate since 2007 and is the Senate Minority Leader. He is a Phi Beta Kappa graduate of the University of South Dakota and also received his Juris Doctorate and a master's degree in history from USD. He attended the Kennedy School of Government at Harvard, where he received a Master of Public Administration degree. He's written the books Bring on the Pioneers and A Fair Chance for a Free People. So, without further ado, I will begin the questioning, and then we'll take some questions from the audience. I'd like to start, gentlemen, and before we get to the questions, we have to do the opening statement. So, Mr. Dugard, you're going first, and so, Dennis Dugard, your opening statement.
Thank you, Paul. Thanks to everyone for coming out for this forum. I appreciate your interest in politics. It's a beautiful day in South Dakota, and you could be doing a lot of things today instead of doing this. But you care about South Dakota and our government, and that's why democracy works in South Dakota. So I appreciate your coming out. I want to tell you a little bit about myself. I grew up on a farm near Del Rapids, between Del Rapids and Garrettson. My grandparents came from Denmark in 1911 and bought a small farm, 160-acre farm. My dad was born there on the farm in 1914, and he and his family grew up there. And then when he married my mother, my 2 sisters and I grew up on that farm. And when I was a youngster, we still had cattle and hogs and chickens. We raised corn and hay and oats and soybeans. Went to a one-room country school, Crothers District 36 it was called, and I was the only kid in my class, or as I like to say it, I was at the top of my class. When I was in 7th grade, the country school closed and was consolidated into the Del Rapids School District. So in 8th grade, I started riding the bus to Del Rapids. That's where I met my wife, Linda, who's here with me. We met in 8th grade at the Legion Hall dance after a football game. We dated through high school. I graduated in 1971. I'm 57 years old. About that time, we had some financial trouble on the farm. We sort of went upside down financially.